What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro because I now have access to a bunch of 4K screenshots and some actual comparisons as to how much better and more detailed it's going to look. And I'll just say right up front, I'm not trying to clickbait you. They don't look good. I mean, even under a microscope, we're going to hyper zoom in on some actual screenshots I have of it, and just no matter what, it's not really worth the cash. But let me take a look at it. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So there has been a lot of stuff being posted onto social media about these screenshots. Now, we're going to do some hyper zoom ins. I actually have the Mark Cerny presentation. We're going to take a look at that with a fine-tooth comb, but let me just start with the fact that I think part of Sony's issue is the fact that this is a very, very tiny difference. Even if you are a tech guru, in order to see this, you can't even look at a screenshot of it. Like this stuff here, these are definitely good looking screenshots, but the issue is that you're dealing with compression. These social media sites a lot of times don't want to host 8 gigabyte single pictures of a video game, so they get really smushed down. But even beyond that, a lot of times it just doesn't look that different. Now, we're going to be talking a lot about Digital Foundry. These guys are the kings of tech analysis, and I believe they're currently working on a big breakdown over on their website, but they just hosted, for people that actually back them on Patreon, they uploaded the 4K raw footage that Sony gave them. So I can actually analyze everything that Sony is claiming makes it worth $700. But even for these initial screenshots, their tech people are like, okay, image quality is definitely better. This isn't about graphics or visuals or anything like that. This is just that the raw actual image quality has improved. So what this is they put it up and they said the actual rawness of it is 65 gigs, which their website can't host, but this is still a pretty dang good quality. So we're going to take a look at some screenshots here in a second too, but even looking at it, this is the actual raw 4K. And admittedly, it definitely does look better. Like, I feel like the weirdness about the entirety of the PlayStation 5 Pro is that you can't just observe it in the typical sense, you know? Like, people are bringing this up very often, and I think it's the most valid complaint. Whoa, 4K Mark Cerny. It's the fact that in order to even see the graphical difference, I'm watching this on a $1,000 monitor. I'm looking at this gameplay and editing this video on a $2,000 computer. It's one of those things where like even to be able to see the difference, you have to have a very top of the line Ultra HD TV that's probably going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This is still 30 FPS, by the way, especially now that I'm looking at it in 4K. This is 4K 30 FPS, and yeah, that ray tracing does look good. Let me do this though. So what I decided to do is I took some side-by-side comparison screenshots of my own. So these are from the video itself. I decided to screenshot it though so we could zoom in a bit. This is the standard performance version, which is like where you're having it with higher frame rate instead of higher visual fidelity. The whole point of the Pro is that you don't have to choose between graphics or frame rate. And I think that is a good fight to have. You know, I do wish more games would be 60 FPS, but of course I want more games to have ray tracing. And so looking at it side by side, like, I guess this sign looks better. This tree definitely looks a lot better. This trash can looks better. I think part of the biggest issue with this is that even though this does measurably look improved, it's by such a tiny amount. Like the fact that I'm literally zooming in and going, yeah, his fur here is kind of blurry, and then his fur here is less blurry. I mean, this is the kind of thing where I'm doing this via screenshots. So it's not going to give us the best representation as to how this stuff would look on an actual console, but even this, PS5 fidelity versus PS5 Pro, like, this grass looks a little bit better, I guess. Like, I feel like Sony's biggest battle when it comes to this system of trying to get people excited for it is the fact that it doesn't have that same amount of visual shock that the PlayStation 5 had, you know? Like, even this, looking at a remastered PlayStation 4 game is not going to wow me. Like, here's something I think, like, whoop, let's pause that for a second. See, these screenshots are obviously slightly desynced. They had to play the game twice, but stuff like this, background quality, you can see more of like the planes of wood. There's like individual staining on some of the boards and stuff. I feel like this is the issue with it, is that, like, it does look better. I mean, undoubtedly, it does look better. But we're talking like 2% better. I almost think that Sony made a mistake by showing us games we've already platinumed, you know? Like, this stuff here looks good in 4K, but I'm recording this, which is going to slightly compress it, and then I'm going to put it into my editing program and zip it into a file, and then make a thumbnail of me doing this, and then upload it to YouTube, which is going to compress it again. The issue is that this just feels like such a teeny tiny upgrade, even if you are excited about it. And I think the issue is the fact that because they didn't show anything new, I think that if they'd showed Ghost of Tsushima 2, if they had actually like screenshots like this, I feel like if anything are almost detrimental of like, oh great, I'm glad this background sign, I already knew it said Fedra. Now I can see it says Fedra a little bit better. I think they should have come out and showed games we had not seen before. I think that they should have done a state of play or a special showcase and showed a bunch of trailers in a row that looked, you know, slightly better than we're used to, and said, hey, here's the next generation of PlayStation, and then just revealed the console and said everything you've been looking at is pro gameplay. Like, this stuff... So, I mean, this definitely proves my screenshots are as accurate as possible, but God, oh, look, the tree is 1% less blurry. Oh, you can see somebody's facial detail a little bit better in a car. Man, Sony, I think the drive to constantly try to push technology is admirable. I understand that the PlayStation 5 is selling like crazy, so you want to keep people engaged with the ecosystem, and if luxury gamers want to buy a luxury console, like, I understand what they're trying to do here, but this almost feels like something that's going to hurt their own market. Like, they said 15% of people that bought a PlayStation 4 ended up buying a PlayStation 4 Pro. But the difference was that a PlayStation 4 was already cheap. A PlayStation 4 was already like a $250 console, a $300 console with a pack-in, paying $400 for a Pro that did have measurably and visually apparent 4K in a way, even though it's checkerboard upscaling, the fact that it had clearly better frame rate. That stuff sells a console better than like tech demo zoom-ins of background details. Like, this stuff is improved, but to such a tiny degree. Spider-Man 2 already looked fantastic. The first time I ever saw a PlayStation 4 Pro, my best friend Nick, if he sees this, shout out to Nick, he came over and he was showing me Dark Souls 3. I'd already beaten Dark Souls 3, but he showed it to me and he was showing me all these secret areas that I hadn't seen. And so we had a fun little game night playing it on his console, and it visually, instantly looked better than my PlayStation 4. And it wasn't that my PlayStation 4 felt downgraded, it felt that that was better. You know? I almost feel like there's a difference. Apparently Sony has this fear of making their games look like they have like a better version and a worse version. This is pretty much already identical to what we saw on the base model PS5. And the base model PS5 does look good. This stuff does look better. I don't know. Like, this just seems like such a weird misplay. And the more I analyze it, the more we actually just be brutally honest about the PlayStation 5 Pro, the more it confuses and confounds me than anything else. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. What do you guys think about it? And also, huge props to Digital Foundry. Digital Foundry did actually get all this stuff. They uploaded it, and it all looks good. Of course, everybody's roasting them, saying they look absolutely identical, but I mean, I want to give props to Digital Foundry, not just for getting this, but for doing, in my opinion, the very best tech analysis for anything on the web. So huge credit to them. They absolutely rock. If you don't follow them, I actually subscribe to them on Patreon as well, which is how I had access to this video. So credit to them. I'm sure they're going to do a big tech breakdown a million times better than mine, but I wanted to just do some off-the-cuff impressions because side by side at the true native resolution as a raw gameplay clip, it's still just a wet $700 fart in your mouth at 3 a.m. But what do you guys think? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And please, if you could, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. I just made a pizza that is 80 grams of protein. Baby cheese. Low-fat part skim mozzarella. Oh my God. Ugh. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.